Yes, Peter Bishop and Britt Elmslie, our very special guests. So, fellas, we want to continue on the conversation you were talking about. I'm interested when you talk about Bish, you call him Bish, I know that's his nickname, you get quite emotional at times. What's the great attachment to Bish that gets you emotive?
Yeah, I think, well, you spend a lot of time with your coach. You spend a lot of time with your training partners as well. You're at the pool from 2.5 hours in the morning, 2.5 hours in the evening, and then gym after that. And so you spend probably more time with them than you do with your family, and they sort of become your family as well. But yeah, I don't know, we get along really well, and I have a lot of fond memories, even though it was short-lived when I trained under Bish. But as I said, we had a lot of years on the Australian swim team, and as a whole, the Australian swim team is like extended family as well. So
I kind of saw that. You touched on it before, Bish. The care factor for you is really important, getting to know them, and suddenly they intertwine into your family, don't they? They become a part of you, don't they?
Yeah, and definitely I think when they move into state as well, it's a big job, you know, when they basically, it's not so common in our sport. Obviously in basketball and other sports people move all the time, but swimming you generally sort of stay in the state that you started in, and so to have, you know, Britt move down and basically only know the swimming connections, and, you know, encouraging her to keep, you know, looking outside of the swimming world as well, and make new friends, trying to feel, because I think they have to feel belong, they have to feel at home to be successful, and I think it's a really challenging thing for all athletes. I mean,
I spent some time at the Institute of Sport, worked there for 11 years, so we had a great relationship. Bill Sweetener was the swimming coach there, Dennis Pursley, guys that you would know, and then the coaches would meet once a month, and we'd go and watch other things. So different sports do it a different way. My first time to watch swimming with Bill, I was amazed. The swimmers, so in our sport, you never talk when the coach is talking. So the swimmers get out, and as soon as they get out, they start talking to each other. Obviously, they can't in the water, and the whiteboard's there and what they're supposed to do, and Bill's giving instructions. I'm horrified that there's this conversation going on. It hasn't changed over the journey. I'm just wondering how to get the message through to the swimmers when they're chatting at the same time you're delivering your message.
Look, I think everyone has a different style of how they do their programs as well. Like, pretty much now we'll tend to go through the session beforehand, so everyone is really clear on what's going on. There doesn't generally be too much talking going on then. There'll be a few questions and a bit of banter on whether they can put suits on or, you know, anything else. But generally that's pretty good. But you want the kids, as you said, it's a really hard sport. Their head's in the water the whole time. They don't have a lot of time to be able to chat when they're in the training session. So you've got to allow a bit of that banter and chat, and I think sometimes that's be really positive as well. They're trying to get each other up and to get to that peak performance in a set, and often when they're at the edge, you know, a few key comments from either myself or their teammates can really help get them to the next level.
Do you see a surge in swimming after an event like the Olympics? Is there someone knocking on the door every couple of minutes trying to get in and have a swim with you? I think, you know, we're looking at probably getting another couple of swimmers coming from interstate, which is really good. I think, as I said, we've got a great team, and when you're amongst the Australian team, and we had some extra SASS staff there as well, they see how everyone works together, and opportunities come up where maybe a coach is leaving their program and they're looking that they have to move anyway. Where can they go? So it's great that the people are seeing South Australia as a place to go to reach your potential. Are we healthy as far as swimming goes? Are we in a good space? We've got some up and comers coming through. We always seem to find somebody that can go 100 mile an hour.
Yeah, definitely. I think Australia is doing a really great job at developing athletes and keep them coming through. We've had a lot of swimmers. You know, we've got people like Emily Seabohm and Kate Campbell have been to multiple Olympics, and so we've had that experience coming all the way through, and we've got a young crop, but obviously people are going to move on. So we just always need to have that pressure coming up from the bottom.
And we've got the pressure there now, yeah.
Yeah, I think generally, like, there's always going to be some events you can go, geez, we haven't got an athlete in that event here or that event there, and sometimes across the world there's events that are really tough. And sometimes there's events where there's opportunities, and then people see there's opportunities and target that event as well.
Okay.
I'm interested in both of you on this. I'll give you a chance to think about it, Bish, because coaches don't normally get too much opportunity. So, Britt, I'll ask you first. Over the journey of, say, the last 5 years of your swimming career, sports science come in and they're always trying to improve us. What do you think changed the most for you in that last 5 years of your swimming career?
I would say it was probably the most important, because at that point you're trying to get milliseconds off your time. So you're already at an elite level, and I'd been at an Olympic level for 7 years at that point. So you're dealing with milliseconds. So you're trying to refine everything so slightly, and you have a feel for the water and you're the one in there doing it, but to have all these other different eyes on you in regards to filming, like we would do filming once a week and technique work. I think the older you are and the further into your career you are, that stuff is even more so important. Than you've obviously got to have a good base fitness to go off, which is the work that you do when you're a young athlete. But the older you get, it's more about the technique work and working with those sports scientists who that's their expertise, and you want to learn as much as you can from them. And when Bish was talking about teaching, I think a good coach is teaching you stuff all the time, teaching you new things, and we're the ones up and down, swimming up and down, but you've got to be willing to learn. Otherwise, you're just going to stay exactly where you are. That's not how you get better.
What do you reckon the biggest change has been in the last couple of years? I mean, they tried to bring the full suit in, and then that kind of got pushed out. Where do you think it's gone?
I definitely agree with Britt. The skill stuff is the most visible part, and getting that instant feedback to be able to create change very quickly. And we're lucky to have a really good setup that we can get basically a dive, be able to compare that dive to their very best dive, and we can see when we're trying to make small changes that actually, starting off a little bit lower, knee angled, how's that changed the whole start? And so that's been really important. But one of Britt's strengths, and you will never get past this, is her ability to stand up and perform on the biggest stage. Regardless of everything else, you can have the best start and whatever, but to be able to perform on the biggest stage and be able to execute under perceived pressure, Britt was supreme at that, and a lot of her best times have been on the biggest stage. I think that's still the crux for everyone.
They talk about it in all other sports. We don't talk about it much in swimming, but your kicking technique or your shooting technique in basketball, you can do it multiple ways.
Yeah.
In swimming, is it the same when you have a certain technique? So your coaching style is to complement the style they've got and try and improve on it rather than restructure it all? Yeah.
And then there are some certain basics that people need to have, but depending on their strengths, their limb length, their flexibility, then the stroke needs to still be moulded to the best stroke for them. And you see that across all strokes, but especially in breaststroke, there's a whole range in breaststroke as well, that everything's a little bit different depending on the swimmer's needs.
Mate, is there a great moment for you with all your athletes, because you're attached to all of them, and some of them, it may be the gold medal at the Olympic Games, and I'm sure they're personal best, but sometimes things happen outside the pool, that you never hear about. Have there been a couple of moments for you? You don't need to share them where you've just gone, that's a great moment for my athlete?
Oh, I think, when you go to the weddings and that sort of stuff, and they have kids, you're getting older now, it's quite interesting. Like some of my swimmers who are actually about to rent a new place are actually renting out a house of one of my ex-swimmers, and it's just like how everything's interconnected here in SA. It's just great that we can all get together and help improve sport in SA.
Yeah, hey Peter, really appreciate your time, mate. I know you're busy. I love your enthusiasm. Britt, fantastic to get you guys together. Hopefully we can get you again another time for another chat. Stay with us still. A bit more to come on the show.